Y'all, we're back again.
Yes, we are finally back with you guys. We were a little sick, so we had to take a breather.
Yeah, we did, but we back at it like always.
Yep, and what are we going to talk about today?
All right, we had one, I guess you called it a little touchy.
Yeah, well, definitely. We have to provide a trigger warning, okay? So,
yeah, for sure.
Just trigger warning for mental health awareness.
Definitely.
And we are going to talk today about, is Watchtower blood guilty?
That's a good one. And we'll have to explain that because, of course, they got their own made-up vocabulary, right? Yep, but let's just dive into it. We'll start off, I guess, by pulling up on jw.org. For those that aren't familiar with the channel, you know, those Jehovah's Witnesses is being disobedient. We don't make up apostate material. We just quote the Watchtower, all right? So if you look here, it's, I believe, from the insight on the scriptures, blood guilt is a very common phrase you hear in the organization, right?
Definitely, because they always try to make it seem like people who don't go out preaching are blood guilty.
Yeah, so if you look at, we'll just kind of quote the first paragraph on this part, and it says, at times the Hebrew word for blood refers to guilt incurred by the shedding of innocent blood and is thus rendered blood guilt. And then another way, you can just Google blood guilt. All right, blood guilt. Guilt resulting from murder or bloodshed.
Yes.
Seems pretty simple, right? So we'll even go from this and then the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses, because if you've been a Jehovah's Witness or familiar with how the organization runs, you always hear this word, blood guilty, blood guilty. So in a nutshell, if, like you mentioned, if you meet somebody out and about and you don't take the opportunity to talk to them about the Jehovah's Witnesses teachings, or about this new world, or try to basically convert this person into a Jehovah's Witness, you are considered blood guilty, which is overboard because the definition is pretty much a murderer.
Yes, literally, or guilt from bloodshed, which really Watchtower should have guilt from bloodshed, because a lot of things have happened within the organization that have resulted in people taking their own lives, you know, even if it's just having to deal with CSA, you know, and it never getting attended to within the organization, and like the people, the victims of it, thinking that they were safe within this organization, and then them not taking them serious or something like that, you know, and that results in years of trauma or abuse for them as well.
Exactly.
And that's not even talking about the multiple people that even we might know personally who have passed on because of a doctrine that the witnesses have, which is not taking blood.
Yep, that's a personal one for my family. And I know it triggers anybody else because they haven't woke up from this yet, but I understand. All right, my grandmother had multiple myeloma, which is a bone cancer, and they gave her 6 years to live, and she ended up living, I believe, 12.
Wow.
And so along the lines, she had multiple times to take blood. Like, her health was like this all the time. There were times where we thought it was the end, and she bounced back. But her doctor would look at her crazy, and the family got into it with the doctors about this blood thing, because, of course, to somebody else that's not a Jehovah's Witness, all right, you are at this low point where you might lose your life. Just take, you know, this blood transfusion, you'll be okay. And you saying no. Of course you sound crazy. And so with the family, it's, all right, she could have took blood. Well, how do we know it would have made a difference? You better off finding out.
It would have made a difference. Like, period, it would have made a difference, because now your organs is getting oxygen carried to them. This is the thing. I'm a nurse, so I have seen the end stage of people not taking blood. And having to remain like very...
Like neutral?
Yes. And it's, I'm not going to... That's something that's difficult for me to remain neutral to now, because you don't understand the scientific backing on why they don't take it, okay? And I know that I was there before, and I was the same way. But it's just so crazy, because in the last stages of somebody about to die, a lot of people end up usually too late. saying, you know what, just give it to me. Like, I need the blood. Like, just give it to me.
Exactly.
And a lot of times it's too late. Like, they're about to pass away anyway, because you have to run tests before safely giving them blood.
Right.
You know, and have to get their typing screen and all these things before even being able to give them the blood. But just seeing that, like, the end stages of it, and like, people, you can't get comfortable because your organs are depleted of oxygen, so you feel like you can't breathe.
Right.
And it feels like a slow suffocation. Like, that's what I have seen, you know.
Yeah.
And this is what Watchtower is telling you. Don't take, even if you're like that at the end stages, like, don't take the blood. Yeah.
You know what's mainly about this whole thing you mentioned? The people that's telling you this are not professionals. These people have not went to no type of schooling or nothing. These are just businessmen that live up in New York City that's giving medical advice to people. You know what I mean?
Right. The what did they call it? The hospital liaison or something like that?
Yeah, the liaison committee.
Yes, and they're not medical people, not medical professionals a lot of the time. It's just like elders.
That's it. And what I have brought up to family members, this is like to them. I'm like, the blood rule has changed multiple times. And like we mentioned multiple videos in a row, if you say something is truth is truth. Yeah. Today is truth. But tomorrow I can't come up with a new answer and be like, never mind, this is truth. Well, if that's the case, what you previously said was truth was a lie. Yeah. So if the blood rule, admit that. So if the blood rule, you go back to where blood was okay as Jehovah's Witnesses. JT and Lady C covered this in a video before. Then it goes from never mind, no blood. Yeah. Now this becomes the new truth. Then it becomes, oh wait, scratch that. Some blood. Parts of the blood. Yeah. All right, so you have to go back and notice patterns. All right, so you telling me something's the truth today, but 1, 2, 3 times you already got it wrong. Exactly. I shouldn't be set in stone on this answer that you're giving me today because you have a pattern of not giving me the right answers, especially when it comes to life.
Yes, exactly. And this is what's so messed up about it, is even if you're taking it from like a biblical standpoint, the Bible says to stray away from animal blood, okay? Right. For one. It says nothing about like in life-saving measures to abstain from the blood. Right. But because it has changed so many times, it's also confusing to the members. So not everybody is staying quite on top of like what is new, and especially when you're in it, you're just like in a daze. I don't remember being like really on top of like what's new unless it became popular, you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's true.
But if you're not on top of it, you're confused, and maybe you're one of the older witnesses who are still sticking to what it was previously. So you're not taking any component of blood at all. No. So I don't know. It's just really sad and really crazy the way that you base your whole life off of this belief that can possibly be wrong.
Yeah. And speaking, before we even get to our next part, speaking of crazy doctrines that have nothing to stand on, we seen the most pathetic thing in the history of Jehovah's Witnesses.
I can't believe it. Still
to this day. We even talked about it before. Think of the beard doctrine.
Yeah.
Now, we just mentioned the blood doctrine. That's something that actually affects your life.
Yes, it's serious.
Serious. We have seen, I'm talking people that have been Jehovah's Witnesses their whole life. 60 years old, 70 years old. They just got permission for the first time in their life to grow a beard. Now they got big beards. And it's sad and it's pathetic because you a 75-year-old man and somebody just gave you permission to grow a beard.
Insane.
So all of these years, it's been wrong, and now it's like, oops, sorry. Yeah, you can have a beard now. Quick. Yeah. And it just shows.
I don't see how people lost respect for the organization, like while being in. You know what I mean? Like if you're physically in the organization and you saw this all come to light, like how did you not lose respect for the organization? Like you guys lied. And then on top of it, not only did you guys lie, but then you didn't take any responsibility over all of your members believing that you can't grow a beard because you guys used to say it. Like, don't act like you didn't used to say you can't grow one.
And it was the part that Let brought out when he was like, basically, we covered in our video, even though you may have thought, well, I've been thinking this all along. How would Jehovah feel about you saying that? So it's like, oh yeah, so even though I was thinking that the whole time, I shouldn't have been thinking that because that'd be wrong on my end to be thinking I was right. You right.
so manipulative.
You just like this.
So manipulative. Like just watch and see if they end up changing this blood doctrine again. Yeah. Again, for what, the 4th or 5th time, whatever it might be. Yeah. But watch them try to change it and then tell people not to be angry about
all the people that passed away following that rule.
Like, are you kidding me?
That's real blood guilt.
How can you tell somebody not to be angry about that?
And that's the part of it being a cult, because not to speak down on Jehovah's Witnesses, but you are a gullible type of person to, I mean, we just call it what it is. They make you that way
because they brainwash you into thinking that. So.
Yeah, you got to be a gullible person to even fall for these okie dokes in the first place. Right. So your mind is not moving the way a normal mind would work to go, hold up, man. So my family member just died over nothing? Like, most people are not going to click and think like that.
No. And if you do, you're talked so terribly about, and if you go and try to tell how you feel to somebody, like an elder that you trust or something, you're completely gaslit. Yep. So you are really living with like a life and a brain of somebody who's going through mental abuse. Like that is what you're living with, you know? So
real life puppets.
Yes. Yeah. It's not completely their fault, you know what I mean? Like the organization is making them that way. They're brainwashing them to be that way. They're gaslighting them whenever they do come up with their own question or their own opinions. Then they're being told, oh no, you're wrong, you know, Jehovah, blah blah blah. Like that's what they do. Way. Yeah, it's very manipulative.
For sure.
Okay, we're gonna try to switch gears here a little bit. And I know usually, like our channel, we try to keep things as lighthearted as possible, but sometimes that's just not possible whenever you have a very heavy topic. So we're gonna be talking about people leaving the organization and having feelings of wanting to unalive themselves. And this is where the trigger warning is as well. So if you guys don't want to watch, or it's too triggering for you, this would be the time to stop. But we had a subscriber who messaged us to our Instagram, and he literally props to him because he told us his whole story. And I'm very grateful to you guys who do decide to, you know, tell us your story and like trust us with even knowing these things about you. Like it's a lot to even admit, you know, to go through those really deep and dark times in your life and be brave enough to share them with strangers on the internet.
Yeah, for real.
But we are going to share his message with you guys, and he said that was completely okay, and he wanted to keep it anonymous, but he kind of has like a message to the viewers, and he just doesn't have a platform for himself yet. So we thought it would be nice to share it on ours.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You want to read it?
All right, so we'll put it on the screen right here. So here it is. To my fellow ex-JW and people waking up. The time was Thanksgiving 2021, November 25th, 11:54 p.m. to be exact. I was getting suicidal thoughts as the JW trauma was way too strong for me to handle. I had just left the cult and lost my whole sense of community, lost my girlfriend, who I thought would have been my wife, who I met in the Jehovah's Witnesses. I had gone to a nearby parking garage and was contemplating taking my life. The level of irritation and mental instability was through the roof. I couldn't focus on work and nothing in my life. If you're going through similar experiences, please understand this may be a side effect of leaving the cult, as your brain has been molded a certain way to think, and the process of deconstruction of the cult can be a difficult one. But once you break free and get back on your feet, you'll be a whole new person. It took me about 2 years to recover, and I have a new belief system of things I used to value in life. Hang in there, one day at a time.
So I swear, whenever when we first got that message, because he had a picture also of like the parking lot that he was at that night. Yeah. And going through something like that and being able to still make it out of it, that's a story to be told for real. Because, and we've made a past video about this, like kind of it was our 10 signs of a cult one, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Where we talked about like the deconstruction that you go through whenever you leave. And so many people, whenever you first leave, it feels like you feel this way because you left and because Satan has a hold of you and now everything in your life is going to go wrong. That's what a lot of people feel like, or simply because you have all of this loss. You literally have to mourn people who are still very much alive. And that feeling of like all these people turning their backs on you.
It's a empty feeling. It's a lonely feeling.
Yes, very empty, very lonely. And likely you were already feeling that way while you were in the organization, but now it's just 10 times worse. And like, I think we even talked about it last time, but like going through the soft shunning, and then once you actually leave, you get hit with the hard shunning, you know?
Yeah.
But these practices that Watchtower believes in, this can be the result from it. And sadly, like I was Googling a lot too, and just trying to come up with like, what is the numbers on this? Like how many people take their own lives after they leave this organization? Like I wanted to know, but we don't have any like hard numbers on it. But if you go and you Google it, Reddit always has like all these people on there, and there was so many people on there with different stories of people that they knew who had unalived themselves. I don't know if we could say the other word, but who have unalived themselves on there, or you know. And there was all these stories of people who knew other people who have done that, and it was because of the shunning.
It's very common.
It is common, and like, but it's not known about enough, like within the organization, that this is something that happens. Instead, like when you're inside of the organization and you see that somebody has deleted themselves, you think it's because now they're worldly and they're part of the world. You don't think that yes. You don't think that it came from the actions of the witnesses, which is really a lot of times what it's coming from.
That's the root of it.
It is. You're losing your whole sense of community. Like your entire protective and support system is gone. You doing that to anybody causes mental breaks. Like
that's not a normal thing. And like you said, the people in the organization only know about the organization from what the organization is telling you.
Yes.
And so everything outside the organization, the people in it are telling you everything out there is demonic, evil, Satan.
Yes.
So in your mind, they only did that because of ABC. The same with our videos. Mm-hmm. You have these witnesses who feel like they are 100% right.
Yeah.
Y'all only make these videos because deep down y'all know it's the truth.
Yeah.
And they feel entitled by saying that. And to us, it's like, it's laughable because, we used to think that too. But no, if we felt like it was the truth, we would still be Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes.
The reason why we left is because we know for a fact
it's not.
This is bogus. But this is a very common thing that happens because, like you said, everything you've known to this point in your life has been stripped away from you, and now you're completely lost. I know we can all relate to what would make somebody make this type of decision once they
100%.
leave, because this is what makes us the XJW community.
Yeah.
We all pretty much experience the same thing, and this is the validation for each other. Like, I'm not crazy.
Yes.
And this is what we all feel like. We're not the crazy ones, because that moment that you wake up, because you can either be to the shunning point or you might be PMO. Mm-hmm. You could just be on your own finding out this stuff, but you realize that something ain't right. It does something to you mentally where you feel, I can call it lost, but that's an understatement.
Yeah.
You can't even put into words.
No. You feel like you are in the dark. And you're not feeling like you're in the dark because you're on Satan's side now. You're feeling like you're in the dark because you have learned the truth about something that you have called the truth your entire life.
Yeah.
So you don't know what to believe anymore.
Exactly.
And it's just, it is such, you can't even explain the way that you truly feel unless you have gone through that feeling yourself. And the thing is, everybody experiences it at different levels.
Right.
And we've touched on this too. Like, for this person, his family was in it. He lost his family. He lost his girlfriend. Couldn't focus on work. Couldn't focus on anything else that was going on in his life.
You're right.
Except for this religion, and like leaving and having to deal with the weight of the shunning, you know. And when I put myself back to how I felt whenever like we had first, and mine was kind of like a slow fading out. I feel like I slowly stopped hanging out with my friends. I slowly, like, it was kind of slow, which made it, I think, easier to digest. Right. Because if it was quick where it was like one day, boom, I'm at all of the parties, and then boom, the next day I'm cut off from all the people.
Yeah, it
like
affects you differently.
Yes, that is terrible. But that is literally what people go through whenever they are disfellowshipped, and this is what's messed up, is that people get disfellowshipped not even just because they don't believe in this anymore, which that was our reason, is because we don't believe in this anymore. So there is no going back. You know what I mean? But for other people who have just made a mistake or, something like that, and to get completely cut off from your community, that's ridiculous. Like,
that's crazy.
How do you not see the ridiculousness in that?
Yeah, I agree.
We even saw through it was Stephen Lett, his nephew, that had deleted himself because he was gay. And then literally a couple weeks after that, Stephen Lett is up on the platform talking about how homosexuals will not be like, or they'll have a chance to be resurrected or something in the new world. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was very like
throwing shade.
Yes. Yeah. And like, he wasn't soft about anything, and it's just so crazy because the governing body is always telling you to have grace and be humble and be good and be kind and blah blah.
It's a joke.
Yes, sometimes you guys they're the most unempathetic people ever, and they literally act like robots, especially when it comes to things like this. Like, they're like, oh no, they did that because they should have come back to Jehovah's loving arms. Like, dude,
all that BS.
Are you joking me? And it triggers me too, because I actually had a friend who also deleted himself, but like that, it's the shunning that comes from it. You know what I mean? And it's those feelings. When you're in those dark feelings, it is very difficult to see any light. You know, it's very difficult to see a way out. And I think that's where our channels and other people's testimonies serve as that purpose, to show you that there is light at the end of this like dark tunnel, that you will be okay. You know what I mean? Just like he said. Yes. He was like, it took him 2 years, but then he was finally able to set up a new belief system for himself and like new values for his life. But that deconstruction, sometimes it lasts 30 years. You know what I mean?
It just depends on the person.
Yes.
And what a lot of people struggle with is that moment you realize this organization is not the truth. You've been told so many lies that it's like, all right, that means I can't do this, or that, because that's also wrong.
Yes.
But you don't even know if this is right or wrong or not, because the liars told you not to do this, and that. And I remember my first thing when I had woke up, I was lost, because it's like, all right, I was already in the process of waking up because I was tired of going to the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
And it was stuff that I didn't agree with, and stuff that I knew wasn't right based off the teachings.
Right.
But along the other way, I had started watching like a little bit of Islam. I knew I didn't want to go to church, but I was like, all right, Islam, that ain't really my thing either. So then it came to where I'm like, well, if this ain't the truth, then religion just ain't it. And then I'm like, all right, what if it's not a God? But I'm afraid to find that out. But at the same time, why am I afraid to find out if there's actually a God or not? Because I had to understand a lot of my things that I'm afraid of. The organization told me I had to be afraid of it. So then it became more like y'all not about to tell me what I can and can't explore and learn. And this is where you break the chains and you start to gain your freedom back. Because you learn that anything can be right or wrong. And you are allowed to explore and find out for yourself, instead of feeling like you just lost. Now you have, instead of looking at it as I'm lost, look at it as I'm free. I'm free to find out whatever I want to learn. I'm free to see what makes sense to me, what makes me happy. And this is when you learn that it's going to be all right. That's what somebody had told me when I woke up. They're like, oh yeah, that's fake too, but you be all right. Because it helps having other people a couple steps ahead of you to let you know what you're about to go through. And they can tell you, oh yeah, I felt like that at this point, but this is what helped me. And that's where, like you said, this is where these channels come in. And we help each other out, because we promise
serve a purpose.
It's gonna be okay. And you are meant to go through this situation to be a tougher person.
And you just have to make it through that dark those dark feelings, because I know that when you're in it, it seems like forever and like it's never going to end, but there is an end. You will end up figuring new things out and making new friends if that's what you want to do, you know, but you just have to go through a lot of deconstruction, and it lasts a long time. Like even to this day, I still find myself deconstructing from being in it. You can't go through 20 years of learning something and learning that to be the one and only truth, and then expect for it to all fall away in 2 months. That's not realistic. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to take a while, and that's okay. Give yourself some grace. You know what I mean?
And you just move at your own journey. You know, one person may recover like this and another person may not. But just go at your own pace. And what helps the most, remember, it's designed this way. It's designed for you to feel weak without it. And if you keep that in your mind, anytime you have these low moments, remember, this cult pretty much designed it to where I feel helpless without it. So anytime you feel helpless, go, wait a minute, this is what they want me to feel like.
Yes, and there's something empowering about knowing, like, this is how they want me to be, and I refuse to be that way. You know what I mean? Like, they want me so bad to fail without them, but I'm not going to fail without them. They want me so badly to be lost and sad and have all these terrible feelings out here, but I'm not going to feel that way. And when you are able to, like, take that power back to yourself, I get it. Like, sometimes it's easier said than done, but, like, just think about it. Like, if you're able to take that power back to yourself and live in a way that they would have never imagined you to even be able to live. You know?
Because deep down, not your everyday people at the Kingdom Hall, but the people at the very top, they know this whole thing is bogus. So they are purposely
they don't even follow it.
They know that you can be happy without them, but they can't admit that from the platform.
No, they will lose too many members. We're already losing members.
So they know that you don't need them. They know we don't need that organization. And just don't feel bad about moving on without them. You are going to be just fine. And the people that try to drag you back or try to talk down on you for leaving the organization, they mind ain't where our minds at. They ain't quite here yet. So it's not for them to understand. You know what I'm saying? A kindergartner is not going to understand algebra. So don't feel bad for them not understanding the algebra you doing. And they ain't there yet. They hopefully get there down the line, but that's on them.
It takes a while to break that. Like, there's a reason that the organization repeats certain words from the platform. There's a reason they say certain things a specific way, like how they talk about apostates and how they will never inherit the kingdom, and how they say truth. Like, this is the truth. This is the truth from God. Like, and they will repeat it 30-40 times in one talk. That is literally mind control. Like, that is them brainwashing their members. It's a cult.
That's all it is. It's a cult. But don't feel bad for leaving, because at the end of the day, they used to tell us we was blood guilty for not sharing this cult-like message. But in reality, they the blood guilty ones at the end of the day. You know?
Literally. But I want to thank all of our subscribers once again for sharing their stories. Special thanks to the one who shared this story and this message with you guys, because it made us want to do this video. So
but make sure y'all keep on sending y'all stories to us, because it's giving us more things to help everybody with at the end of the day. But make sure y'all keep hitting us up on our Instagram. That's at Awaken Truths IG. We got more exciting stuff on the way. Just stay tuned with us. But until then, what they got to do?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll catch y'all on the next one. All right.